Welcome back. We are discussing the conduct of the 2019 elections. And remember, if you want to take part, you can. You can talk to us via Twitter at Channels TV or at Kadria Ahmed. On YouTube, we are at Channels Web. Please use the hashtag NGTheCore. You can also follow us on Facebook at Channels Forum. We will do our best to share some of your questions and your comments. Let me turn to Ms. Hashim. You're a voter. You've been speaking to voters as well because you do a lot of citizen advocacy. And you've heard, the explanation given by Mr. Okoye about some of the challenges. And of course, the elections are not run, by just INEC. There are other parties involved, and I want us to sort of move into talking about that. But just very quickly, what do you make of some of the things that Mr. Okoye has said?
I mean, he gives logical explanation to why the INEC has been quite ineffective in conducting the elections. But, the elections wasn't the start point of INEC showcasing its ineffectiveness. We've seen that through the registration of PVCs. We've seen that at, the collection points of PVCs. And then we've seen, gross inefficiencies during the elections. I personally have seen how ineffective and uncoordinated the INEC was at my polling unit, because they arrived at the polling unit where it was stated on the website, and after we finished voting, it turned out that that was the wrong location and they had to move, and there was no INEC official present there. There wasn't a senior INEC official. It was just NYSC coppers. Okay. And after they had moved to the other location, there was chaos. And this was due to gross ineffectiveness. Okay,
and hopefully we'll start talking about how do we solve those problems that INEC has. But obviously INEC isn't the only person involved in the electoral process. Idayat, security services, political parties, media, even the civil society people such as yourself. So I'd like you to talk to us a little bit about the roles of those particular parties and whether you think people and the organizations involved, everybody conducted themselves properly or not, and where the issues are, if any.
I think it's high time as a country we agree that election is a stakeholders affair. It's not just INEC, it's even the citizens ourselves, and more it's becoming obvious that the citizens will have to determine the quality and the integrity of the elections. But be that as it may, the 2019 elections revealed a lot of things. When you take away INEC and the management of the elections, the biggest challenge we had in 2019 was the action of the political class. It was no longer elections. In fact, the first thing I asked myself as a Nigerian, not as somebody actually working on elections, is that what is the sole purpose of these elections? Is it to serve people? Because if politics is to serve people, if all these actors and gladiators are actually there to serve people, the level of violence, the level of brigandage, the level of attack on INEC staff, observers, journalists, and even the citizens themselves would not have been witnessed. In fact, we saw a new rule book opened for us. Before, as a country, we were more familiar with ballot box snatching, ballot box stuffing, but in these elections we saw ballot box destruction of ballots itself, making sure that the votes in that particular area do not count. Aside that, you saw a chaotic collation process where the security agents and the political class became actors in the process. So you ask, and we see, is either we've seen the just concluded supplementary elections where a collation officer, a female at that, serving our country, was shot. So the question it raises is that in 2023, how many people will be ready to work as election staff?
Okay, so let me see if I can get the audience involved. Comments here. So the gentleman in blue. Yes, please, very short, your name and your comment.
Hello, good evening all. My name is Oyamba Gbenga Solomon. in the last election I contested, and I'll tell you, from everything Mr. Okoya said, too many things happened that were wrong. When they were collating, for instance, when they were collating my own vote, so in terms of separation of votes, they counted 173, just in one polling unit, I'm telling you, they counted 173, but announced 108, when they noticed I beat the leading political party, APC, in that. Now, going to the presidential election, Mr. Okoye said that it takes time for...
So let me understand though quickly, are you suggesting collusion? Because that's
yes,
with INEC staff.
With INEC staff, with the coppers. You see, at this point, I'll tell you, it's not just INEC. It has to do with even the coppers themselves. They at every point were not sincere to this election. It was not, the gap between the Nigerian public, and I keep telling them, after the election, you're going to come back and join whatever you've done. So whatever you are doing right now is going to tell on you later. Okay. Now, to the presidential election, Mr. Okoye said something. He said it took INEC some days and judiciary. It just shows that in the gross effect of it, INEC itself was not ready for this election. And Professor Mahmoud Yakubu has to accept, yes, admitting that they were not ready is one thing, but the part that knowing that too many Nigerians are already frustrated, and I don't see people coming out because there's going to be more voter party come 2023. In our election, we're actually going to beg people to come out of their houses. What is INEC going to do to stop people or begin to beg people to come out?
And I'm not suggesting that I don't want us to talk to INEC. We will. But, you know, I want us to now talk about the other parties involved so that at the end we can then talk about what you do with each of the actors. Idayat raised the issue of political parties and the people who are seeking our votes and how their behavior has changed. Now, I've been in forums where people have suggested that the level of violence we saw and the desperation is partly because it is no longer that easy to rig elections. And so the only way to influence them is destroy ballots, like she said, or stop people from voting. What are your thoughts regarding that?
I think if you look at elections critically, security has been a major issue since 1999 till date. And a very good evidence for that is the current internal crisis that we are having security-wise. Our police competent enough to police elections, to police people, you know, and so it's not just police, there are other paramilitary arms that support the police during elections. So one, we have to have a competent police that is able to protect people during elections, because life are being lost of staff, INEC staff, of citizens. So how do we ensure that the police is first capable? But if you go back, one of the major issues is the Electoral Act, as he has said. And before the election, you saw that just a month before the election, the Electoral Act was a big argument, because there are a lot of issues that the Electoral Act needs to address, and one of the major ones is the issue he raised about court issues. How do you expect an agency conducting elections to deal with court cases 1 week to the elections? So these are issues that need to be addressed. So we need a competent security personnel to police people. We need an Electoral Act that addresses all the major issues that are coming out of these elections.
Fakuya, did the media and civil society conduct themselves in the way that they should in relation to this election, in your view? You're very active in both, and that's why I'm asking you this question.
I think, you know, to be fair to the CSOs and the media, they have been okay during the elections. We have seen situations where there had been, you know, spread of fake news that unfortunately some of our mainstream media was taken up, but the role of media and CSOs during the election was very crucial in a way that it reported almost every incident that was happening, you know, around the country. We saw the supplementary elections in Kano. We knew how it was going to end up, because the media was very much present, and we already knew before the collation was completed who was going to win, because of the nature by which the CSOs had been, you know, keeping track of the elections at every point. So they really did, you know, a good job. But the same cannot be said for the political parties, because for me the most troubling thing about this election is it has, in terms of social development, it has thrown us, you know, a few years back.
Okay, let me bring in people from the audience. We happen to have a few people belonging to different political parties, and I'm specifically wanting to speak about Bauchi State, which was one of the states where you ended up in one election with people voting sometimes 4 parties in one polling unit. So one person would, APC would win one particular seat, PDP will win another. And from the perspective of a politician in Bauchi who's, you know, won your seat back, but also a ruling party member, but also a politician who's sort of just been accused of all sorts of things, what are your thoughts regarding the different actors involved in the elections and the general conduct of the elections?
Well, I'm a sitting member of the House of Assembly in Bauchi and from APC. And I'll give many thanks to the state governor and all the stakeholders involved for free and fair elections that was held in Bauchi. Unfortunately, PDP won, we lost. But generally, if you look at the political development in Bauchi, it shows democracy is really maturing, especially in the northern part of the country. And I want political analysts and students of politics to really concentrate on Bauchi at the moment, to actually analyze what really happened in the last general election.
So quickly tell us what happened. Why was Bauchi different from other places?
Because of the fairness of the ruling party, the APC and the state government, we allowed the process to go peacefully. And 2 strongholds of APC, which is Bauchi Metropolis and Azare, the House of Representative members are from PRP, and the Bauchi Metropolis House of Assembly member is from NNPP, which is an unknown political party among the several political parties we have. And also the state governor lost, and he congratulated the PDP elect governor from PDP. And also in the State Assembly, we right now have 22 Assembly members from APC. We have 7 from PDP, and we have 1 from NNPP. So okay, there's a fair level political, you know, process in Bauchi, which is, I will also commend INEC for conducting a good process in Bauchi and the security agencies. Because
in your view, how come this is the same Nigeria? You go to a place like Bauchi and you have that sort of outcome, but we seem unable to replicate it in other places. Because, I mean, in seeking to find solutions, we should be looking at those who seem to be getting it right.
I think it's the sophistication of
by
the voters.
Same INEC.
It's the sophistication of the voters in Bauchi. In fact, during the elections, that was one state we had put out as a battleground state, but importantly as a state where we have to work hard at protecting the mandate. That there is a huge likelihood, if there is no fair playing ground, level playing ground, that some people's mandate will actually may be stolen, because we had expected that unknown parties will emerge, particularly the PRP, for instance, with the way and everything they've gathered. We even expected they would do better in the governorship than they eventually did. And it tells you the way people vote. Most times people do not vote for parties, they vote for individuals. And aside from people voting for individuals, what we should also observe is how did those candidates who emerge on those unknown platforms campaign? Because what they have put a shame to is money politics in the real sense. So possibly you would have found them leveraging on their social capital, the way they've been effective, and most importantly, protecting their mandate, which was one thing we noticed during the presidential elections, particularly for the House seats. Now again, Bauchi is very instructive. In the supplementary elections, in fact, if you read the CDD report, we made a specific reference to Bauchi during the supplementary elections. While there was chaos everywhere, in a particular polling unit, the people themselves became the guard. They sent out all the political class, they sent out the security, and they ensured that they took control of their polling units and voted in peace.